The Public Interest Research Group tells Microsoft that they need to do better to eliminate e-wastes, particularly when they have this zero waste by 2030 initiative. We're going to talk about this and some of their claims and issues going on here today. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Of course, we like talking about Linux and why to switch to Linux. I know we've been talking about Windows a little bit more lately, and that is because we are coming up on this hard deadline. People are going to be starting to look around at, what else can I do? I can't afford another computer, and Microsoft keeps on giving me these scary warnings that I have to upgrade to Windows 11, but my computer says I'm not eligible for an upgrade. What do I do? And this is an interesting question. And what we want to talk about here today is some of Microsoft's goals, some of their claims, and some of the kind of fraudulent way that they're trying to push the narrative to generate more e-waste, also they can profit a little bit more. And I want to tell you here at the end of this, switching to Linux is a viable option for many, many people, more than you think. Now, it's not going to be good for 100% everybody, but we're going to talk a little bit about it here. And so let's go ahead and start in with Microsoft's goals. Of course, in 2020, they pushed out some goals to have zero waste by 2030. This page, I couldn't get an exact date on this particular page, but from the fact that they first released their idea of having zero waste by 2020, and it says 5 years ago, I believe this is coming out probably in early 2025. There was another article I decided not to cover. It was just a lot more wordy and went off into the weeds, but that was published in February of 2025. And so probably this page has its origin around there, or at least its last major update. They say accelerating progress towards zero waste, which is very interesting from a company that is going to be forcing up to 40% of currently running Windows 10 PCs to be thrown into the trash can simply because they do not meet minimum requirements. Think about that. This is a company that wants to tell everybody, go green. We're being environmentally responsible. Oh, all you guys that can't upgrade, throw your computers in the trash can and spend money you don't have, probably on a credit card, to buy a brand new computer so we can push more stuff down your throat that you didn't even ask for. That's really what we're looking at here. And so looking at their plan here, our circular economy approach as a company that manufactures devices, builds campuses and data centers, and uses manufactured goods across their operations, we recognize the need to implement our circular economy principles in the full life cycle of materials. They want to have 3 pillars: reduce, reuse, and recover. So reducing, of course, this is waste, virgin material, and single-use design, leveraging supplier buyback service models, and recycle their renewed materials, and designing for reuse or recovery. But I don't see Microsoft saying, hey, send us your Windows 10 computer and we'll give you, $500, something sane, towards the purchase of a new Windows 11 computer. We don't see any of that. Reuse by extending use life, as it tells all these consumers to throw away their computer because the device that you have can no longer receive updates. By extending use life through repair and refurbishment or resale. And recover by recycling, composting materials. How many people know how to recycle a computer? Now, the good news, in most jurisdictions in the United States, it is free to recycle it, but you have to manually, physically take the device to the trash dump directly. You have to drive it on out. There's not a lot of places where you can go and just recycle your computers. And even when there are such things, there's really no money back, even though those places are often selling the parts back to the manufacturers. Some cases, like Apple, was buying back all of the parts for pennies on the dollar rather than for free, simply so they could shred them so that the parts would not enter the third-party market, so that organizations like Lewis Rossmann could actually fix your device. They did everything they could to prevent third-party parts from old, broken, or obsolete devices from entering the market so that those products could be salvaged for spare parts. They simply took them and shredded them, all while saying, we're going green, we're going zero waste. You're not going zero waste. We're going to force you to throw your perfectly good working computer away, but, So the news resurgence came out just yesterday with the Register. And in the Register, Louis Rocket Gutman, who is the campaign director for Design to Last at the Public Interest Research Group. And this is the Public Interest Research Group is one of these organizations that is just out there trying to seek some awareness about, in this instance, in the Design to Last, it's really about the right to repair models. And so Louis Rocket Gutman is the director for that particular campaign. He's been with them, I think, since 2016 or 2006, I forget. One of those two. He's been there for a while. So he was unimpressed with the announcement that we talked about last Windows Wednesday, where, remember, instead of a consumer paying $30 for 1 year of extra support, you could also spend 1,000 Microsoft rewards points, which requires you to do a lot of things with Microsoft products, or subscribe to use Windows Backup and, put all of your files on Windows Cloud, which is something they really, really want you to do. So he came out and said, well, hey, it's good that they have an option that doesn't cost $30, but he says that is not far enough. And he tells the Register Microsoft's new options do not go far enough and likely will not make a dent in up to 400 million Windows 10 PCs that can't upgrade to Windows 11. And he says what they haven't done is commit to automatically providing longer support for Windows 10 or loosening the hardware requirements for Windows 11. And what is interesting here, and the point that he makes down here in his quote, is a very, very good point. Microsoft is already committed to developing and deploying security updates for Windows 10 for at least 3 years through the extended support program. The decision to restrict the security updates behind a paywall and for consumers 1 year, he didn't include that part, is a business decision, not a technical one. In other words, Windows is already patching these systems. They're already giving these businesses more time to make this transition over. And I completely was going to look up the articles. I forgot to. But remember back about a decade ago when they were out touting this is the last Windows system we're ever going to have. Now, I know they came out recently with some fine print saying, well, they just understand the context, blah, 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 No, they were really touting it. Windows 10 is the last Windows we're ever going to have. So why can't we carry these on? Since Windows is already supporting these systems, it's clearly not critical. But the reason they want everybody on the consumer level on Windows 11 is, as I mentioned before, you are an authenticated user. You're not tied to just your IP address. You're tied in many instances to a biometric ID. You're tied to a phone number. They know exactly who you are. And with the system constantly wanting to upload the files, they know exactly who you are. They have the decryption keys for your computer handy, and they can peruse your files. For when you engage in wrongthink and some turnkey government would be interested in what you're doing, whether or not that's the current government, as half the country thinks is out to get them, or the next government, as the other half the country thinks is going to get them. Okay, that's really the reality. We live in a world where we cannot necessarily inherently trust the government. Even if we elect somebody, the people we elect we may agree with now, we will probably disagree in the next term. We do not want any company having any form of information, because even if what we're doing isn't wrong or we have nothing to hide, they manufacture crimes out of thin air because they don't like the way you think. I mean, think about that. That's why if you follow along and you like to follow along getting the post from like the Fostodon account, yeah, we were banned off of Fostodon. We engaged in wrongthink. And because they're not telling us, I have to speculate that the video that they flagged, I believe it was the one where we had a Sillyville article where the LA protesters were calling Waymo taxis into the riot in order to set them on fire. I just don't think they like the inconvenient truth that there was actually a riot going on in LA. I literally think that's it. And unless they want to open up about what they think is so megaphobic about me, I'm left to speculate. But turnkey, guys. All of our stuff can be taken away in an instant if you're not careful. And frankly, that's the case. So, and that's the thing, is that they're already creating these software patches. Why is it that they're only giving those 3-year for businesses and not consumers? Because they want everybody authenticated in the way Windows 11 does it. They want everybody on a Microsoft account. They want to do everything they can to keep that local account. They want every computer that is on that is turned on the internet and authenticated into a user. They exactly know who it is. That is what their goal is. And that is why we need to push back and use Linux and not play their game. But now back in 2023, the Public Interest Research Group released a survey or a poll here, or a petition, excuse me. And this is what they said. This was in 2023 when free support for Windows 10 ends. As many as 400 million perfectly good computers can't upgrade to Windows 11 will be thrown out. Now, this is 2023 numbers. It's possibly less by then. You know, in 2 years, maybe a few of those computers have broken, but I wouldn't say it's outside the realm of possibility that up to 200 or so million are still remaining. They say about 40% of PCs currently in use cannot upgrade to Windows 11, even if the users wanted to. They say less than a quarter of electronic waste is recycled, so most of the computers will simply end up in a landfill. And by the way, since in America it is so difficult to dispose of these things, they're going to be silently thrown in trash cans around the country anyway. They're not going to be properly disposed of. It's too difficult. We don't have the thing. It's the same thing as somebody who lives on public land. I would love to clean up everybody's messes when I land in a campground and it's a disgusting pigsty. The problem is waste is so screwed up in America. I have a hard enough time figuring out how to throw away my own generated trash. I don't have the resources to throw away your generated trash too. So, you know, I strongly urge, the petition says, to you to automatically extend support for Windows 10 free of charge to prevent millions of computers from becoming junk. That is what the petition is ultimately calling for. And so many editions of Windows 10 will end, but due mainly to the company's strict hardware requirements, millions of devices cannot be upgraded. So I think what they really should do here, what Microsoft should do is extend these supports out a number more years. Wait until, let's just say, 5%. Maybe 10. Let's go 10%. When 10%, we drop under 10% of the world's computers using Windows 10, that I think is a good time that you can cut it back. Because, you know, we still have like 5 or 6% of people are still on Windows 7. So, you know, that's not particularly safe either. But the point is here is that with so many people still using Windows 10, and the push to get them onto Windows 11 is definitely artificial, especially since they're still patching these computers for Windows 10 for at least 3 more years anyway. Why are you charging so much for it? Why not wait until those Windows 10 computers become obsolete, die out on their own? And the reason they don't want to do that, though, is computers last so much longer. I doubt my streaming computer here can run Windows 11. I haven't looked into it. Things never run Windows. I bought the parts. I assembled the computer. It's been running Linux Mint since I've put the thing together. And the reality is computers nowadays last a lot longer. And I was trying to think back, how long do computers last? When I bought my first good real computer running Windows 95, I want to say I bought it in 97. It was like late 97. And I want to say I had that computer until probably 2002. Now, I had upgraded the RAM, graphics card, processor, and I threw USB ports in there in the intervening time. But eventually it died out, and somewhere, I want to say it was 2022, I bought another computer, and that computer didn't last long, honestly. I think that computer really only lasted me maybe 2 to 4 years. Was it longer? No, I think I had that one for a while longer than that. I think I had that one for maybe 5 or 6 years, but at that point in time, I had a few laptops in the mix as well. So I'm becoming a little hazy about how long computers lasted. But computers definitely did not last as long a decade or two ago as they do now, as we're kind of catching up to this realm where the next generation of processors is not significantly better than the previous one, whereas back a decade or two ago, man, next generation processor came out. Like, it literally was like, I think it was 1 or 2 years after I got that first computer that I got a processor that was like 3 or 4 times faster just in 2 years later. Nowadays, it's like we don't even think about how fast a processor. It's a processor. Okay, whatever. How many cores does it have? That's useful information. How much cache, maybe, But as far as the actual technical speed per processor, we're kind of maxed out on that in some ways. And so the problem that Microsoft is having is that computers last so long, they need to artificially price them out of the market. Now, they do say here that penguin-shaped options are a thing. I would encourage you to have a look at the video I did looking at PewDiePie and his recommendation. And what I'm going to actually just kind of do here is just to kind of give you a brief look. I mean, this is Linux. Here, this is what I'm using to show the show. We have a full menu. We have lots of applications for lots of different things. We got web browsers. I don't have email clients on this computer. I don't do email on this particular computer, but we got lots of email clients. Here's some Bible study applications. Here's GIMP and drawing tools, scanning, web browsers. I have FileZilla for FTP services. Full office suites, there's ebook editing, virtualization software, audio editing. It literally has everything that you need. It's not scary. I mean, there's a terminal. I can pull it up with a hotkey, but you don't really need to use the terminal. Well, if I can type exit correctly. There's updates, and there's just all sorts of stuff. You get all sorts of things that you can do. And unless you need deeply, deeply specialized software, you can do what you need to do. And even those that, if you're not like tied to software technically, for example, like you don't have a job that requires you to have Photoshop, use GIMP. Okay, it's going to be a better option. You're going to be able to cancel your Adobe subscription and not pay an early cancellation fee. Like, pay us to use your subscription fee. Pay us to not use your subscription fee. Just pay us. Think about that. What if you lose your job and you can't pay the bill anymore? You're like, you know what? I have to choose between Photoshop and food. Sorry, Adobe, I'm going with food. Adobe's like, nope, we're going to hit you with an early cancellation fee and take the rest of your money. You don't deserve to eat, pleb. You need to pay for your Photoshop you can no longer afford. Use GIMP, folks. Use GIMP. And I understand. They say in here that there are alternatives, including the penguin-shaped options. Guys, the penguin-shaped options are going to work for the vast majority of you. It just seems a little scary, and this channel exists to make it a lot less scary. We have full videos about how to try it out. We have ways to test it without interfering with your computer. We have alternatives to different software. There's so many things out there. So there is actually another way. They have a Windows 365, which basically turns your Windows 10 computer into a shell to access their Windows subscription in the cloud. So basically your Windows 10 computer gets basically upgrades, security upgrades forever, apparently, as long as you're using that to access your real computer, which is a Windows 11 on the internet. So that, your entirety of your computer belongs to Microsoft at that point in time. So there was a survey that just released this week from ControlUp. They said that in the Windows 11 readiness report, 50% of enterprise Windows endpoints have yet to complete the migration to Windows 11. So half of the computers there, we got 4 months left, folks. Half of the computers are not yet ready for Windows 11 switch. Just over 41% of endpoints in healthcare are running Windows 11. So that means, 59% are still on Windows 10. 4 months healthcare. Of course, healthcare is notoriously bad on computer security. So you can expect a whole lot more health and data breaches soon. 19% of endpoints will need to be replaced entirely. And Gutterman here concludes the article by saying it's obvious that users are frustrated, says Gutterman. They feel yanked around and don't think this announcement provides a viable solution. Now, TechRadar actually covered this article, and most of this is a summary of that article, but I did want to call out Darren here. Darren, you do great work, my friend, but how dare you put what you put into the ether? I mean, you are just tempting Windows here, because at the bottom of the article, he suggests down here, I'd even suggest making Windows 10 ad supported to keep those security updates coming for 2 or 3 years. You're fired, Darren. No, bad Darren. No. Don't do it. Don't do it. I think allowing Microsoft to push more ad notifications in the still limited fashion within Windows 10 could be a compromise many would take. Rather than paying extra to keep their non-Windows 11 compatible PC alive to 2027 or 2028. And the sad point is, I think he's right. I think many people would do that because we've been so dumbed down by advertisements. We've been so dumbed down by it that we're like, I guess ads are just a part of the world. Guys, I have not seen ads in a long time. I haven't seen ads in a long time. It is possible to live your life without these advertisements, which seek exclusively to take the entirety of your life and breed inside of you discontent. That's exactly what the goal happens to be. And so, in light of all of this here, he's probably right. Many people would accept ads. And I'm going to say here that in the event Microsoft does decide to do such a thing, go on over to my channel and search for my Pi-hole tutorial. Because on Pi-hole, you can block advertisements on your whole network level. And if you block advertisements on your whole network level, you don't even need to run an ad blocker. Now, it helps to, but an ad blocker only blocks ads on the web browser. If you run Pi-hole, it will block ads across the whole network, which means Microsoft will not be able to push ads on your ad-supported Windows 10. Something to keep in mind, as they're starting to push ads in more of their apps that are not just upsells for their own services. We talked about that in some previous videos. Darren does say here in the end of the article, I fully agree with PIRG that a 1-year extension for consumers is not good enough in terms of Microsoft responsibilities towards preventing excessive e-waste, especially since it's clear they're already putting those security packages together anyway. Why not extend that to everyone? Why not keep this support going for a longer period of time to prevent people from having to buy new PCs earlier? Hey, maybe in good luck, within 3 more years, more of maybe half of the remaining PCs will die out. They'll be forced onto Windows 11 unless they switch to Linux, in which case we will be better shape. Now, there's one more from TechRadar, another one from Darren I did want to comment on, and this one is Microsoft released a blog post last week. This might have actually been the one we referenced last week because it had information about the new ways to get the extended support without paying $30. But in that article, I missed it because I didn't read the whole of the article. I was just looking at the ways to extend the support. But he mentions here that Windows says that Windows 11 PCs are up to 2.3 times faster than Windows 10 devices. And so that comes from this blog post here from June 2024. June 24th, 2025. Stay secure with Windows 11, Copilot Plus PCs, and Windows 365 before support ends for Windows. So this goes into all of those different areas. And look at the consequences of not upgrading to Windows 11. Microsoft will no longer provide security and feature updates and technical support. While these devices continue to function, they no longer receive regular security updates, making them more vulnerable to cyber threats such as malware and viruses. Now, later on in the article, we'll look at this bullet point. They say Windows 11 PCs are more secure than Windows 10 PCs. That's because you've abandoned Windows 10. We prioritize Windows 11. Right? Companies and organizations that operate Windows 10 may find it challenging to maintain regulatory compliance. So if you are a regulatory compliant business, financial institutions, medical institutions, places that have to have some form of security compliance, Windows 10, you can't even legally do it anymore. Windows is going to make you change. It's going to make you spend lots and lots and lots of money to give Windows money, lots and lots and lots of revenue from new licenses. Ooh. Applications running on Windows 10 may no longer be supported, so the platform will start, the apps on the platform will start to degrade. They will eventually pull them out altogether. Then they have Microsoft 365 apps running on personal and commercial Windows 10 computer will continue receiving updates until 2028. So they have done that. They have extended the updates on all Microsoft 365 apps will get the full updates. So again, this is a business decision to force people, not a technical decision. They have the capability of doing this. So to help you make a move to Windows 11 PC as simple and secure, we were recommending Windows Backup. We talked about that on our video last week. All you got to do is sign up and send all of your files to Microsoft so they can scan and peruse them and, possibly ban your account for the wrongthink that you have on your hard drive. Don't do that if you're saving memes, okay? Memes could get you in trouble, things like that. So, So I find these bullet points are very interesting. This is, again, their way of pushing their Windows 11. Security first. New Windows 11 PCs have seen a reported 62% drop in security incidents and a 3 times reported reduction in firmware attacks. Now, all throughout this, they have these footnotes down here, and the footnotes are not hot links. So you got to remember what it is, and you have to manually scroll down and get the information. So footnote 3, this is a Windows 11 security report commissioned by Microsoft itself. This is the drug company doing their own study on their own drug and telling the the FDA, we have tested our drug and it's perfectly safe. Please release it on the market. So they say this is Windows 11 is more secure compared to Windows 10, which makes sense because they are prioritizing Windows 11, not Windows 10. And then this one is the one that the tech article, the Tech Radar article comes up with here. Windows 11 PCs are up to 2.3 times faster. So this is footnote number 4. So if you go down to footnote number 4, and then you read footnote number 4 down here, based on Geekbench 6 multi-core bench notes, and then they say, see this, which is not hot linked. It should be. If you go to this hot link, it takes you on over to this this claims and disclosures page. And on the claims and disclosures page down here, these are the relevant benchmarks. They literally have tested a modern Windows 11 computer and compared it to a 5-year-old computer running Windows 10 and said the brand new Windows 11 computer runs better than a 5-year-old computer running Windows 10. I think that's fraudulent marketing. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV, but it seems to me like their comparison is a little bit of apples versus rocks. Okay, we're not even apples, oranges. Those are at least both fruits. We're talking about a brand new Windows 11 PC now, just out of the box, compared to that 5-year-old thing on old 5-year-old hardware. I hope that the new computer performs better than the 5-year-old computer. I mean, I haven't rebuilt my computer in, I think, 8 years. I would suggest if I buy a brand new computer with lowest market value things, it will probably perform slightly better than this one. Shocking nobody. Now, I know computer development hasn't moved as fast. We talked about at the beginning of the show. However, call me crazy, after 5 years, I think it'll perform better. So they did some testing over here. They say 4 times faster in 3D Mark Steel. This one was 2 times faster, more FPS in War Thunder than most popular 5-year-old Windows PCs. Look at this. Top performing Copilot Plus PCs, brand new PCs with brand new NPUs and all this, are up to 4 times faster than most popular 5-year-old Windows PCs. You're telling me that a brand new computer with an NPU chip is faster than a 5-year-old computer? Tell me it isn't so, Microsoft. This one runs 2 times faster. Top performing Copilot PCs run 2 times faster on War Thunder than the 5-year-old computers. And these go on and on. There's a lot of them. And so looking at all of the fine print, Microsoft is really lying in all of their pushing to suggest that these are all better and faster. Familiar yet modern user experience. Key elements like the start menu and taskbar offer a cleaner look on Windows. Did you see the new the new menu they're putting in Windows 11, it is not cleaner. It is not more intuitive. It is floated with crap. You pull up your Windows 10 menu. I mean, let's go back to this, okay? When I pull up my menu, I have my favorite applications, the ability to shut things down, and a menu to search for things. I can even search for files if I want to, although I think I have that turned off because I don't like it. And I can like search for something. You know, I can do stuff like that. That's a clean user interface. On Windows 10 and Windows 11, like Windows 11 particularly, you pull up that start menu and you get hit with a barrage. You get the weather, you get the news, you get the latest headlines, you get a bunch of other moving and listing stuff, and you open this window up, you look at it and go, I forgot what I was looking for. It is not user-friendly. Not at all. Built-in accessibility features. Okay, so this one I have to think about. Linux is not as good with accessibility as it should be. Now, I was actually having breakfast before I started on my last cross-country journey. I was having breakfast with a blind gentleman, a good friend of one of my friends, an acquaintance of mine. I've known him for a number of years, haven't talked to him a whole lot. But we're having breakfast. He's talking about he tests a lot of technology for the blind, and he says he had to do that test on Windows because the device drivers are only available for Windows. He uses Mac because Mac was way more accessible. Now, I don't know if he was using Windows 10 or Windows 11, so it's possible Windows finally got better accessibility. Maybe that's something Linux needs to work on. Fortunately, to GNOME's credit, that's one of the things GNOME is working on, so that's good. The rest of these, Copilot on Windows 11, nobody asked for this. Most people don't like it. Most people want to get rid of it as fast as they can. Exclusive AI experiences at your fingertips. I don't want it. This is not a selling point. This is an anti-selling point. I do not want AI crammed in every corner of my life. I do not want to consult with AI. I do not want AI to take over my life. I don't want to accidentally make the AI mad and be first on the list when they hunt us all down, okay? I'd rather just stay unknown to the AI. It's too late. I'm probably already number one on their list. As soon as Skynet takes over, I'll be number one most wanted criminal for my constant disparagement of the AI. But I'm going to stick with that trend. I'm going to go down with my principles. That's what I'm going to do. So no, Microsoft, I don't want your AI. And then more choice, more flexibility, more performance. Okay. More choice. Throw your computer away and buy a new Windows 11 computer, pleb. You have no choice in this matter. More flexibility. No, you cannot adjust anything on your computer. It's exactly the way we want it. So there's no flexibility. More performance. Oh, did you see the things going on with Steam versus Windows right now? Oh boy. Oh boy. Windows is losing the gaming wars. Arch Linux is going to win the gaming wars. It's not quite there yet just because of those AAA titles. But I'll tell you what, when every other title's in place and the Linux gaming world dominates the Windows gaming world, which could possibly happen very soon, those AAA titles are going to open up to Linux because they're not going to have a choice. And the fact of the matter is, I could take a 5-year-old computer, that same 5-year-old computer from back here, and I could put my Windows 10 on that 5-year-old computer, and then I can run my benchmarks, and I can throw Linux on that 5-year-old computer and run the benchmarks, and I promise you the Linux is going to work better on that 5-year-old computer. Now, I can't test it with Windows 11 on that 5-year-old computer because they won't let me install it. I'm just going to have to throw the thing away. So, you know, there's always that. But if you want to keep that 5-year-old computer, Linux, baby. Linux all the way. So you do not have more choice, you do not have more flexibility, and you do not have more performance. I think that Microsoft needs investigated for false advertising in this blog post. Of course, this is what we talked about last week. You can pay the $30 for 1 year or redeem 1,000 Microsoft rewards points, which requires you giving up a lot of privacy data, or you can use backup sync and put all your files in Microsoft's cloud, and that is the case. And then over here, they just talk a little bit about the Windows 365, Windows 10 devices accessing Windows 11, cloud PCs through Windows 365 or virtual machines are entitled to ESU at no additional cost and will automatically receive updates with no extra steps required. So if you are using a Windows 11 subscription model in the cloud, your Windows 10 computer will continue to receive updates. So there's that. So there is what we wanted to mention here today, and the reality is here, I truly deeply think that that your Linux is your better option. You have a lot of things to choose from here. I would just recommend going with Linux Mint. You don't have to stay there the rest of your life. Just start with Linux Mint. Get the chance to play around with it. You can install it. If you have a beefier computer, install VirtualBox and try out Linux on a virtual machine. If you don't have a beefier computer, you can install Linux on an external USB drive. You can install it on an extra hard drive. You could buy an old cheap, $50, $100 computer on Craigslist and just install a version of Linux on it and see how it works. That may or may not be good depending on what type of computer you get, but you will get a lot more life out of a computer running Linux than you will out of a computer running Windows. There is what our thoughts are here. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know, have you switched to Linux? And if so, let me know your experience. Thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.